Okay, good evening, everybody, and welcome to the GS committee meeting for Monday, November the 13th, 11th. Sorry. Okay, so agenda. Apologies for absence. We have Councillor Adams and Councillor Davis.
Councillor Ribbon.
And Councillor Ribbon has currently come through as well now, so they won't be joining us. Declarations of interests. If anyone's got any interest to declare, then please do so. Or as we go through the agenda and you get to something that you feel that you should need to declare, please do so. Public question time. Don't think we've had anybody ask or submit anything. Okay. Okay, the next agenda item is to agree the minutes of the meeting on the 9th of September as a true record. Do I have the approval to sign those off?
Yeah.
Okay. For that. Yep. Thank you very much. Okay. Okay, moving on to the next agenda item, to receive the minutes of the meeting of the planned subcommittees held on the 9th of September and the 7th of October. So I'll quickly just run through these. First of all was Monday the 9th of September, and just shout if you have any queries or need any clarification. So that's page 3. Three, 4, 5, yeah, 6 and 7. Okay. Then there's the plan subcommittee on the Monday the 9th of September, which is page 8, 9, 10. 7th of October, pages 11, 12. Okay, so that brings us on to the next item of the agenda, is the action tracker, to receive any updates on the previous actions. Just quickly go through those and mention any that's had any updates or would like you to have updates on tonight. So the first one was the allotment land at each recreation ground, which is still ongoing. There's been no further update to that as we know, as a process that we're going as part of our programme of works. Town centre planters, which is the next one. Now, as I understand, there's discussion ongoing with highways that John Cawley's been having.
Meeting.
It's meetings now in the diary. Okay. So that will, as obviously one that's pending the meeting with John with highways. We'll move that on, but it has taken some time to get to the stage where we are. So the Green Spaces project. Now, I believe there's an update on the phone box defibrillator that's going to be in this evening, so we'll get an update later from Kathy on that one. The 40th anniversary, again, there's a report for that. Which should be discussed again tonight, so we'll have an update on that to be discussed at the meeting. And finally, on the sorting and gritting, John again has had a bit of a problem getting engagement from CBC, but however, he has now got that. So he's got a meeting in the diary to meet them on the 2nd of December to see how that can be progressed. So hopefully that'll be timely right in for the bad weather that's going to hit us. Have we got anything further?
Yeah, sorry.
Okay.
going back up to town centre planters on the second part of that, the contract to look after plants inside them. We've had an offer from CBC to carry on doing it.
Okay.
So the offer is for 2 years plus 3 years afterwards, all being well. We've gone back to say, just to confirm, you are going to pay us RPI every year on top of the contract amount, aren't you? And we're waiting on the response to that. But that's really positive. They've come back with a yes, carry on.
Good. Okay. So that's the action tracker. That leads us on to the next agenda item, which is the Benwick Splash Information Report, which I believe that James is going to be taking us through.
Thank you, Chair. Good evening, members. So I'll briefly run through the report and then take any questions at the end. So just Platinum Building. So the cafe is running and functioning alongside the football season, which has been good. It's just identified some storage issues that we now have encountered, not having access to change rooms, but we're trying to find some creative ways of finding some extra storage within the cafe area. In terms of next season, the Splash Park, we're scheduling to officially reopen on Monday, the 5th of May. But two factors taken into account some issues we had last season with the commission at the start, and the fact now that we are opening the cafe all year round, we're going to look to try and commission early, which means if there is good spell in early April and we get public saying, can we open the Splash Park, can it be opened, we can actually respond to that because it will be open. So having the cafe open and us manage it gives us that flexibility, which is to react to that, which is really good. Community and private hire, just listed some bookings there. So every week we're getting more inquiries, we're taking some more bookings. So Lauren's been working really hard to take some private hire bookings, but also doing some community-based activities, which is building momentum and increasing numbers, which is really good. And then we just put a bit there about what happened during the October half term, what was planned. So we had a really successful October half term. We had something on every day, a mixture of some free activities, which just encouraged people to come to the cafe. And we did a really successful Build-A-Bear day where we've had extremely positive feedback from the public, and it was a good generating income earner for the cafe as well, in terms of the actual Build-A-Bear activity, but also the secondary spend on the day. So we'll be certainly looking to build on that for the upcoming Christmas period, half terms, Easter. We've sort of got a good template to work to now. So as I say, the feedback on the actual event and Lauren herself was really, really positive, and we're going to actually increase the price slightly as well, because they said it's just extremely good value for money and they would have paid a lot more. So, but that's very good. So marketing project initiatives, just some small things we've done. We've put a TV screen in the cafe now, which helps the promotion and marketing in the centre. For example, for that whole October half term, we're able to promote this. The cafe itself is higher. It creates a good atmosphere and environment, so that's being used well. And there is a curtain rail that we've used to really good effect, which means we can sort of close off the kitchen area and create a really good experience for whatever event we hold. So that worked really well. So I've put the income and expenditure there, and I've just made a particular note to how driven by the weather we are. So the last week of the actual Splash Park, we opened an extra week into September. This year we only made £270, whereas last year we made £3,500, and that was literally just on the weather. So that has impacted it. And then I've just put what our current weekly takings are, with it just open as a cafe. But just on that, it is building each week, each month. The October half term took in over £1,000. So if we can get more of those each holiday, that will build up income. It's just a bit of a slow burn at the moment, but yeah, that's about it. Any questions?
That's great. Thanks, James. It's good to say it's a looking positive.
Yes.
Any questions? That's Brandon.
Hi, James.
Thank you.
For the report. I asked Lauren in the last meeting about the possibility of a sort of Santos Grotto thing. I wondered if that was going to be a thing this year, or whether we were holding out till next year, or whether it's not.
I certainly think she's looking at doing something with the space and creating, and we're going to do sort of another Christmas Build-A-Bear session. So we'll create the cafe into a grotto type environment. Yes.
Awesome.
Yeah. So we're going to do something.
Really look forward to that.
Yeah.
And thank you, as we don't have Liz, who normally says it, or the mayor, thank you for all your hard work.
Yeah. So I'll pass it
Team.
on to Lauren, yeah.
You do a lot of really good stuff. So thank you.
Okay. No problem.
Okay, do we have any other queries, questions? Or?
I was just going to concur to what Councillor Brennan was just saying. I think even your last comment about is a build up, I think rightly so, but this is a build up towards the right direction. So well done, and thank you to the team.
Yeah, I must say we had some, having the building tablets in each centre, they can go online quickly and do one of our comments and compliment forms, and we had quite a few from the Build-A-Bear that was very complimentary of how it was set up, the experience they had, how well Lauren did herself with a personal touch. So we got lots of positive feedback from that and Facebook, so it was really good. Yep.
Do we have any other queries or questions? Otherwise, I'll go on to. I think I was going to raise. Or...
I also think it's really good that we're responding to the opening early. That was a big criticism this year, that it was delayed because of the reasons it was delayed. That was no one's fault, but
Yeah.
it's really good that we're getting ahead of that.
Yeah, we get a lot of comments in early April. It's really nice weather. Why is the splash bottom not open? But it's not as easy as just turning a tap on. But now being in situ there, we have the ability to commission it early because we're open anyway, and we can respond if there is some good weather. We can say, actually, we are opening early. We'll still have our official opening, but we can respond to that. Go, oh, we are going to open. So, which helps income, gives good customer feedback, good customer experience. So, yeah.
Yeah. From my own point of view, as I said, it's a very positive thing from the start. I'd like to try and keep my chair comments to the end to let everyone else have a go first. There's a couple of things that I just wanted to ask about.
Sure.
Was obviously the parking residential side of it. I know we had some issues before with parking, and there was talk about the last meeting about having some restrictions put in place over certain periods of time during the peak summer periods, and so it's only at certain the restrictions were applicable. Has there been any movement on with that? Because good idea.
Yeah, I know Lauren's had good dialogue with the CBC officers on that, so I think they're looking to put something in place for the next season of times where up our peak times that they'll be looking to do that. So yes, I know there's dialogue on it.
Good. Okay. And obviously, I take it that means that we need to negotiate with CBC with regarding the restrictions to be put in place as we're talking about yellow bands or things like that.
Yeah, we work in partnership with them on the times, and we would just advise on them that, look, this is when we would suggest they're put in place.
Yeah.
Yep.
One of the other things that I did, just for members' awareness in the pre-meeting, advised to James, it might be a good idea, but I know we've done some excellent work here with pushing this out to different events and things like that, and we've got all sorts of different things, christenings and different events that's been put on there.
Yeah.
So it really has opened it up, and it's a fantastic piece of work that's been done. Lauren's been very intuitive about how she's adapted with all that, and she's really brought a breath of fresh air. So it is really good, and well done to everybody. Please pass on, our thanks to her since she's not here tonight as well. One of the things I had suggested was, if we can look at maybe, obviously in the summer months, is even opening it up, because I know we spoke about before, it's look at the size of the cafe and think what can we put on there, and it's limited to the amount of people that we can get in the cafe. But something I had suggested before was we could even put a marquee outside of the cafe at some, or give flexibility. So if someone come along and said, look, we want 100 people, we don't just turn that business away and say no. It's an idea that we could hire, a marquee. These marquees these days, you can hire them any sort of size, and they do preheating them. And I mean, I've been to Christmas dinners on some of them, and they're incredible. Well, they've done outside all the curtains and things like that. It looks like a proper hall. So, you know, it's worth thinking about. It's our land, and we could easily adapt to that, and it would open us up to all sorts, really, weddings or whatever. But you know, it'd be nice to have that flexibility that if someone does come along and say we want 100, 120 people, that we could do it and use the cafe purely for the catering side of it and use it as an outdoor event. It's an idea, suggestion, but it's certainly one that could bring us some revenue. And I think the only thing up from my point of view was an update on the grill on the flue, because that was brought up the last time. I think that's under construction.
Yeah, so I've just got contractor coming in to do a bespoke build of it because we couldn't get anything off the shelf to fit, and it's got to be built around the actual flue. So I think they're coming out in the next week or so to do that. So
Yeah,
that'll be done.
so stop it getting vandalised. We all know it's been vandalised quite a few times.
Yeah.
Cost involved with keep repairing it. So yeah, that's great. Okay, thanks very much, James. That's all. Thank you. We go on to the next agenda item now, which is for cemeteries, which I believe Mary's going to take us through.
Good evening, members. The Tier 3 groundwater risk assessment is still with the Environment Agency. There has been no response to it yet. Our consultant, CDS, is chasing on a regular basis, but he sort of said that the EA is understaffed at the moment, so they are quite behind. The income for April, May and July, August, it was overachieved, therefore giving us a variance of, or a positive variance rather, of 45,000. Moving on to the allotments, the waiting list is reducing slowly. As the large plots come up for let, we are splitting them into 4. Since the report was written, we've now got 8 more to offer, so 8 more to come off that figure in the report. Further inspections took place in early October, and the data on those inspections is in the report, and the next inspections are scheduled for April 25. Thank you.
Okay, do we have any questions on that specific topic on cemeteries? Why is on that topic? No, okay, that's good. Thank you very much, Mary. Thank you for everything. Okay, moving on to the next one, which was recreation grounds, which I believe Denise can.
Yes. Thank you, Chair. Good evening, members. I'll just go through briefly the section of my report, and I will take any questions once I finish. Since the last committee, fortunately, no vandalism happened to any of our play equipment, which is a good news. Just general wear and tear, which is monitored and repaired within a very short period of time. In terms of sport beaches and in general ground maintenance, we are entering to the time of the year when the last cuts will take place. All grass raised has been collected. Also, the football season is well underway, and the regular pitch marking and pitch repairs work take place. In terms of the Francis Avenue open space footpath has been completed as of 1st of November. And I was told by the contractors that they received many good feedback from local residents who were very pleased with the works. A quick update on the 2 new Ford Ranger pickup truck. The last time, a couple of weeks ago, I was spoken to the company. They were waiting to be shipped, and still the estimated delivery time is mid-December. In terms of town center and the town rangers, the summit bedding and containerized flower displays had been removed, and all winter bedding has been planted, and the town rangers continue their good work where they complete internal, external work. Any question to any related matters?
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, I mean, the other point I wanted to make is really to say thank you for the work that's been done on the Francis Avenue Park, as well as receiving thanks from the residents that use the area. Thanks from me and fellow councillors from Notfield. I also want to say thanks to the chief executive and the members, just for making sure this place is done. Thank you so much.
Yeah, have you had some feedback as well from residents? Have they happy with
Yes,
good? It's nice to know that get the positive comments and feedback that once a good piece of work's been done. So it's important. Okay, that's great. Did you finish on the town ranges, Demi, or did you?
Yes, but if there is any question, related to town rangers as well.
With the planters being taken over from CVC next year, is it, or soon? Is it?
We're maintaining them now.
Oh, we're maintaining that. There's going to be no extra cost in that because we're hoping to get the funding from CVC to cover that, are we?
Correct.
So is that budgeting taken into account any extra time from the town rangers, or is it additional? Or should I ask this after?
So that's already happening at the moment. So that's in this year's budget. So there's no change to next year's budget.
Okay.
The fact that that's currently covered already by the budget. Whether CBC are paying us enough for the excellent standard we provide or not,
yeah,
we're probably adding value, but they're paying enough for what they would pay someone else to do.
Okay, that's fair. I just wondered about one more question with the grass cutting. How often do we cut various areas?
So on average, open spaces get cut approximately 13-14 times a year historically.
Okay.
Now, obviously, with the climate change and everything, it can happen going forward. It will take 15-16 times. If it all depends on the standards we would choose that we want to achieve.
Does more cutting mean more cost, or is it like the amount of cuts in a year?
No, I wouldn't say, because one of the reasons we asked members to purchase the new Rydon mower, because the new machinery's engine is more is better, so consume less fuel. So the extra cost wouldn't be big at all if there was.
Sorry, Councillor Gunning.
So I think it's important to make the point that CBC's target cuts are 4 or 8 times a year. The quality we offer is double or 3 or 4 times what they do, and we do it for less money per square metre, about half what they. So we're about 3 or 4 times more efficient in terms of the grass cut and the quality of our cut.
Mm.
When you see what we do and see what some of the villages get left, they literally get a mower, run through the village, and it chucks rubbish everywhere, and it's gone. So the quality that our staff offer over a contracted out group is absolutely phenomenal. It's really well done.
I would agree with that, and I think we can all pretty much say that when we look at the verges and the quality of the verge cutting against what's in the parks and the grounds is completely incomparable.
And it comes down to the management of it by our officers.
Mm-hmm.
Is really where what drives that quality and the work of the workers, obviously.
Yeah, absolutely. Councillor Brennan.
So just to reiterate the point, if we were to, as a council, propose that we halved that, and instead of doing it 13-14 times a year, we did it 6 or 7 times a year, like we cut each piece of grass every 2 months instead of every month, would that have a corresponding budgetary drop, or would it still be the same cost?
I think, would you like, Paul?
I'm asking the question from a point of view of saving budget.
It sounds like a simple question, but the answer is more complicated than you think. And to some extent, John's not here and he'd give you the best answer.
So sorry, let me just from a perspective, because that's a very interesting question. It does come up quite often where clients in private businesses, they ask to cut it less because they think this costs less than. But what you have to bear in mind that the longer the grass, then it have to be collected. You can't just simply flay it, which would be cost more the collection and the fuel used. So at the end of the day, potentially would use exactly the same amount of money. but the result would be less desirable.
Okay. I think that's very good.
Exposed it,
Well,
don't
We
you?
don't want to do that.
I mean, the change we've made the last couple of years is there are some areas where we now leave, so you can see those in down rec ground. So
Yeah.
we don't do no mow May because that doesn't make any sense because you do it for a couple of months and then you leave a complete mess and the insects are still there.
Working 10 times harder to achieve.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So there are areas which we're now leaving. So that does mean a bit less mowing. That's not enough to save us a post.
I suppose you're paying the goals team anyway, so.
Yeah. And there's definitely football pitches in the croquet lawn that you couldn't mow less often because we'd have a lot of complaints about them. But absolutely, if you drop from fortnightly to 4 weekly, it's a different kind of mowing that's more expensive anyway. So it's
Okay, that's a good answer. Cool.
Good. Do we have any more questions or queries while on this point or topic? No? Okay, right. Moving on then, I think to green space projects, which I think Kathy's going to take. Oh, sorry.
Sorry, I do apologize. Before we move on, I'm just gonna ask, if we're taking over I understand is that we're looking after the plant inside of the planters, but in terms of replacement, if there's ever an issue with those planters, there was an issue just here with one of those. What happened then? Do we get involved in replacing it? How do we lobby the council CBC to replace them? If there's no connection in terms of replacement of those planters, what would happen over time is when there's a damage or something happen, you don't get a replacement. In 5 years, what would it look like?
so our contract is just maintaining what's inside them. So
Yeah.
we're not taking on any responsibility for the planters themselves. So CBC have retained that responsibility. My understanding is that when one has been substantially damaged, CBC just aren't going to replace it. So that's CBC's position. They've had one-off capital funding, but they don't have funding to replace them if they get damaged into the future. So that's the matter. So we certainly alert CBC where they get damaged and need up, and there is some repair work CBC will do to keep them going. But it would be a matter for CBC to decide whether they want to replace them into the future or not.
Okay, I think this then is for CBC councillors to consider how this go forward then, because if they keep getting damaged and they keep being disappeared, the presentation and the look of what you presented then will change if there's no plan to replace them or to change there must be a 5 years plan, a 10 years plan in the event that something happened to it. Where is the plan? I think the stands deserve, to understand what happened to those plans, as we know that one just got damaged and it's not being replaced and might never get replaced. What if another one goes? Slowly, you see those look and presentation that we're taking care of will totally disappear in 10 years time, and then you're gonna have to start again. So I think I will leave that for CBC councillor to speak to you.
Thanks, councillor. Well, yeah, it raises an interesting point as well. I suppose if one does get damaged beyond all repair, who actually pays to take that away? Yeah.
They were unpopular when they arrived.
Yeah.
The planters, which surprised CBC.
Yeah.
I'm told. I wasn't there at the time, but I have asked them, and I said, why did you put these planters there? Did you? They did a consultancy which 11 people replied to and 7 wanted them. Yeah, I laughed at the numbers. I think, well, how can you survey 40,000 people and say 11 have decided? But that's what they did.
How many of those 7 were CBC councillors?
I don't
at the
know.
time?
I don't know.
There probably would have been all the Dunstable CBC councillors. Probably wasn't even all of them because there was only 7.
But the officers were a bit cut by the rejection of them by a lot of people in the town. They've got a lot of complaints. So as they,
I think it's grown.
As they-
I don't think
Yeah.
so.
well, it's going to be changed back.
Yeah.
And I think it's to us as a town council, we certainly could lobby for what we want or what we believe the people want to CBC when the time is right, which is probably not yet, but
Although I think the planters were unpopular, the rusty pots, as many people call them. I think people have got quite used to the floral display that's in them.
Yeah,
And they have become very positive with the floral display. So I think people would now miss them. If it's a kind of case, be careful what you wish for, isn't it? So
Absolutely.
If we're in charge of them, can we paint them in different colours so they don't look rusty? Because like, that's fake. They're not rusty pots. So can we paint them so that they don't look like disgusting rusty pots?
I've for a long time suggested that we give them to the schools and let the kids come out and paint them as the kids think fit.
okay, we need to be quite careful there with the standards and
That's
things.
a lot of fallacies.
I can see painting over the pavements and
It's a matter for CVC, isn't it? Because
It is.
as soon as the council does something to them, we would then be responsible for maintaining the paintwork. And I would imagine painting them, given the nature of the surface, it's not going to be cheap to do it
No.
properly, and you don't want to do half a job.
You could stencil the Dunstable coat of arms on every single one.
As Paul said, we then be responsible for the whole pot from.
That'd be cool though. No.
no, no.
the one other thing I was going to mention, which I believe that some that are not positioned very well on bus stops and sort of things. Do we have any update on them being moved? So I know there's
No updates.
no updates because they are very much blocking visions and, you know.
There were a
cars.
couple that were really quite badly damaged. Inquired about those, was told that something might get repaired. I saw one that had clearly been repaired, but in a kind of shoddy way,
Yeah,
and I fed that back, but at the moment they're running with open positions, they're not heavily staffed, and you don't get good response, even though you do interface.
but I think there is a danger with some of them, particularly down the High Street and the one on Church Street, where it's blocking
Should we
the
bring
actual
back
buses.
to this meeting and have a CBC conversation outside of officers' time?
You're having a lot of fun.
I think it's pertinent that we can talk about this at the moment, so.
Well, that would be open and honest and bring back what we can if it's relevant to the.
I mean, the one thing I'll say is that the ones that are dangerously positioned do need to be looked at, you know,
Yeah.
for, so we do need to have a proper plan of action of when they're going to be doing that and when that's going to be. Blocks people's visions from bus stops and to coming out of Aldi's, people turning left and right, can't see past them, so. You know, that really is health and safety.
Really
thing to
annoying.
be expedited, but, okay, right, well, with that, part of it done, thank you very much, Debbie, for your report and, for your input there, it's most appreciated. Going on to green spaces projects, Kathy, going to be taking us through this?
Thank you, Chair. Good evening, members. There's a brief update on the pergola project this evening. The council have now received scheduled monument consent from Historic England, and in accordance with the consent, the council have commissioned KDK Archaeology to prepare a written scheme of investigation to support the works for the pergola installation. That since writing this report, that WSI has now been completed, which has allowed officers to approach contractors for the installation of the pergola. The Friends of Priory House and Gardens have indicated that they are willing to donate further funds above the 10,000 that they originally committed to, and we believe that's in the range of about just over £3,000. Officers have been working with the Friends of Priory House and Gardens and the History Society to come up with a timeline for the pergola design, and in Appendix 3 you can see the 14 moments in history that were chosen. Those moments in history will be, each one of them will be a laser cut panel, which will be fitted onto the uprights of the pergola. And you'll be, as you walk down the path of the pergola, you'll be able to read each moment in history. Yeah, there's also kind of a laser cut stencil example in Appendix 5 that you can see there, but it will be in black, so it won't be in the same style exactly as the example. And at the next committee we should have some more kind of design detail for you in January. The pruning of the existing roses and shrubbery will happen before Christmas. It's regarded as permitted works, and we're very much hoping that the works to dismantle the old pergola and install the new pergola, we're hoping that that will all be completed by the end of February 2025. But we will have more detail for you at the next committee. Are there any questions on this project at this point in time? Okay. Yeah.
Just one. The designs coming in the next meeting, I'm looking forward to. So that cover the knee rail as well.
At the moment, because we have some costs that are we're not able to identify the costs. We're actually just postponing the knee rail just for the time being, until we can fix down those costs in terms of the budget, but very much intend to go ahead with the knee rail once we've got costs confirmed on the other elements of the project. But we're just being cautious at the moment, but the intention is to go ahead once we know.
Do you have any other questions? On it?
One. Hi, Kathy.
Hi there.
Thank you for the report. It's really cool. The Friends Priory House choices for the 14, the timeline of the pergola.
Yeah.
Was that discussed with the Historical Society?
Yeah, we worked with them quite closely, and I can't profess to be a historian, so we were led by them and their knowledge, which was really valuable. And we also what we wanted to try and do is kind of include 14 moments that went all the way back to prehistoric times and then up to kind of present day. And we also had to kind of include things that were quite sort of like little sound bites so that they can kind of fit into the messaging of the laser cut panels. We had quite a lot to start with, and we've kind of edited it down. So, yeah.
Is it possible? This is probably going to sound way crazy, but you could, I mean, in one way. But you could put QR codes on the panels.
No, it's not. It's not crazy. That's actually what we intend to do. Yes.
Cool.
Yeah. That information isn't in this report, but we hope to be able to show that to you at the next committee. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's the intention. At this stage as well, we're kind of we're all the sort of detail of the design we're kind of working through and kind of processing that. And we can't decide whether we want the QR codes at the ends of the pergola at either end, or whether we have it underneath each sort of message. So we're kind of working our way through those kind of details at the moment. Sure. But yeah, we absolutely are intending to do that.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
Well done.
Yeah. Very good. Okay, do we have any other queries or questions from this point? Or? No? Okay. Well, thank you, Kathy, for the report, and you know, for all the hard work that's been put into it. I know it's taken some time to get it to this stage, and there's been various delays, but you know, it's very positive to know that we're pushing on with it now, and I think we're all with great excitement around the table to actually seeing, you know, once it's all been done, I'm sure we'll be very proud of it. I think it's important to highlight the Friends of Priory House and Gardens and pass back our thanks for their additional contributions. Obviously, you know, in the current state of play with the world, it's really appreciated that somebody can be putting their hands in their pockets deeper at this stage. So that's really appreciated. It needs to be fed back to them. That's great. You know, the QR code's a brilliant idea, you know, and I think that personally it'd be great to have them next to each of the, so it'd be pertinent for people to pick this the specific things that they enjoy. But obviously that will be put to the general sense of opinion. But yeah, thanks very much for that. It'd be So, we're going to go on to the Church Street phone box. I believe updates onto that as well, isn't there?
Yes, thank you, Chair. There's just a brief update with the phone box. The quotes that we initially had back from local contractors went over budget, substantially over budget. And in the process of going out for quotes, officers have found that there are specialist restorers for K6 telephone kiosks. So officers have since approached those businesses, and we're just awaiting quotes back from those restorers at the moment. So again, there will be a further update in the January committee.
Okay, thank you. And I think it's we've already got the defibrillator paid for, haven't we? So
Absolutely, yeah, yeah,
it's coming. But
yeah.
bit by bit.
It's in process. Yeah.
Okay, that's
Yeah.
great. But I understand the new contractor that's going to be dealing with it are it's their line of work. They specialise in that particular type.
That's right. They're actually specialist restorers within the country that restore these K6 telephone kiosks, and they're really passionate about what they do and have an understanding about them, perhaps. That
The end products are going to be visually noticeable in that. So I think that's
very much hope
very well actually.
Yeah, it's
Do you have any other queries on the phone box side of it now? Okay. Just draw members' attention to the appendices. Obviously, we've got appendices 1 there, which is a cemetery profile, an expenditure report. I don't know if anybody has any queries that they want to ask Mary on that while we're passing through. Also over the page, we have the allotment waiting list, details there. I think it's come down slightly, so we think it's a positive move in the right direction. Going on to appendices 3, it's what Kathy was alluding to about the Pergola timeline, and this is for members to be aware of. But as Kathy pointed out, this has taken a lot of time to get to this stage, with lots of work being carried out with Historic England. So to get this timeline, so although it's for everyone's awareness, we don't really want to deviate from the points that's been put there. But obviously, feel free to comment. I feel you must. But I think the main important thing here is that to realise that the timeline is of Primary Gardens, not of Dunstable. So when we're talking about the different things of the lay direction that's going to be in there, it's got to be remembered it's to do with Primary Gardens rather than Dunstable itself. So I think that's really why they've come up with that timeline. But I think it's quite amazing, really, that we go back to prehistoric in that. So it's quite incredible. So it just underlines the rich history that we've got. Okay, and then we've got over the page some technical drawings regarding the what it's going to actually look like and the fixings, etc.
So
Do we have any queries?
looking at it's hard to get a sense of scale from the drawings of the pergola. I know that Councillor Crawley has brought this up previously. I do think people are going to climb on it. I think that it's going to be, at some point, it's going to be targeted. People are going to, is it going to be like, I know the bands and the wire bands and everything, I'm assuming it's going to be completely overgrown with shrubbery, it's going to be, there's going to be green stuff on it.
I think initially, whenever you kind of instate something new onto the landscape, it does always stick out, as you know, if you have your own garden done, until the sort of the plants grow and it all softens, then initially I think it does stand out, and they are things that are new in the landscape are always targets for vandalism, as we know, but we always hope that won't happen, and that in time, the climbing roses and that will all soften the look of it, and in time,
have plan B to electrify it if it does.
Yeah.
Yes, yeah. It's
Good idea.
it's always it's something that John always sort of says to me, which is that we should never let that stop us doing things. Yeah. So yeah, we know that generally whenever something's new in the landscape, it is always sort of targeted. But once it becomes part of the furniture, if you like, it tends to kind of be less targeted oftentimes. So yeah, hopefully it will be fine.
Now, in the detailed breakdown within the budgetary report, there is mention of maintenance contracts, CCTV Priory Gardens. So my question is the pergola in view of CCTV, and is it protected by said CCTV? Question.
I'm afraid I don't know the answer to that, councillor, but I can find out for you.
If you don't mind, I mean,
course,
really
yeah.
good,
Get
because
back to you.
it might be a good idea at the time, if it is covered by CCTV, just a nicely placed little something or other that says you're on CCTV, bro.
Yeah.
Don't touch the stuff.
I think it's a good idea to protect our investment, definitely.
Like while stuff is growing and while it's not covered, just a little something to say, don't touch our stuff, bro.
I guess one of the positives of this is that there's a pergola already there, so we're just replacing one from the other. It's not like it's
Yeah.
something here, but
Yeah,
you know,
just
we
a-
never know. It's
Yeah.
you know,
It is going to look quite different initially because it's quite modern. It's black metal. It's going to be arched, and as I say, it's going to take a little while for it to soften.
Cool. I'm done.
I'm just gonna say that I concur with the idea of the CCTV, because I do see a lot of young people spend time underneath that current one. So I think a little bit of deterrent, while you're trying to jump, if you see something that says you're on camera and you will be prosecuted, they would not do it.
Yeah, just because
Just
looking at it
deterrent.
there,
The ones that are
like,
gonna do it, they're gonna do it, but just a little bit of deterrent.
even I have to admit, I'm looking at that now. I want to swing off it. Like, I just want, it looks like it's so much fun.
It was with one.
I want to climb on it and I want to swing from it.
Don't.
Done.
Don't do it.
You'll be on CCTV and you'll be embarrassing.
Okay,
YouTube.
cool.
Okay, moving on. Yeah, appendices 5 gives us a laser cut panel as an example there, which I think is good to see something what it's like. Obviously, that's in the rusty carbon steel, which we're not going for. We're having the black powder coated protection. So, but it just gives people an idea of what you could actually do with a laser engraving these days, which is really good detail. So, thanks again. We're looking forward to how it works out. Okay. So moving on, we're going to the 40th anniversary projects update, which I think Paul's going to take us through.
Thank you, Chairman. So members, you'll remember at the last meeting, John gave a proposal for the 40th anniversary for 40 trees, 40,000 bulbs and naming of roads. You asked us to go away and look at the finances with that and come back with a bit more clarity, a bit more detail, which John's done. So the proposal now is to allocate just 7,750 from next year's budget as a one-off for the 40th anniversary from grounds. So the proposal now is for the 40 trees, we understand that we can apply to CBC for up to £5,000 of that cost. So once we're into the next financial year. So we're asking for just £1,500 to make that possible from the council. And they would be around the rec grounds in different areas in groups of 3 or 4. For the 40,000 bulbs, 40,000 sounds like a huge amount of bulbs. It's not as many once you actually see them in the ground. My view is we definitely don't have enough bulbs in our recreation grounds. There's potential for a lot more. The original cost estimate was 8,000 to 10,000. John's gone, and that would be to put them in using specialist equipment. We're now saying we've got a quote, which means we could do it for £5,000, which includes £1,000 of just equipment for volunteers to put them in. bulb planting is a brilliant volunteer activity, so that would be a real positive. The rose named Dunstable, it would take 2 years, and £6,000, £20,000, it's hard to justify that value. So while it's a very attractive idea, we're suggesting we don't go ahead with that at the moment. We were asked about a seed giveaway, so the suggestion was that we put seeds into copies of Talk of the Town. That would cost 4,300 just for the seeds before you pay the additional delivery cost for them. And in reality, quite a lot of those wouldn't get used. Whereas if we allocated 5,000 packets of seeds for 1,250 and then gave them away at events, you've also got that interaction every time you're giving a seed packet away at an event through the year. So people are taking something because they want it, they're much more likely to use it, and you can have that conversation with them at the same time. So all in all, that gives us a proposal of 7,250.
So, yeah,
750.
yeah, 750. Okay, yeah, thanks for that, Paul. I mean, first reaction is fantastic news that we've managed to pull this off, and because if you remember, this was first the round of the talks. This was at £16,000 for the budget of this. Now at 750 is a huge saving. So and I don't think anything less has been lost. So that's a really fantastic achievement. Obviously the proviso to get the CVC grant for the trees, which I think is looking kind of positive from what I can make out. You know, and as you said, the bulb planting the tree being a community engagement project, we don't have the cost of labour on that. So it's a real win-win situation. So I can't thank the team enough for what they've saved there. It really is incredible how we've managed to get that down. Comments, questions,
I'll second my appreciation for getting this well in line with costing. I think it's a great achievement, halving the cost, practically over halving the cost, I think. Yeah, providing we can get the tree planting money from CVC, yeah, great. Makes the town look nicer for less than we less than we were intending to. Pretty good going. Well done.
Yeah.
Personally, I'm less of a fan of the seed giveaway. Personally, I think we could probably remove that from the proposals. I like the idea of engaging in that, but if you're doing seed giveaway, I think it sort of made sense if there was the rose and you were giving away seeds for the rose, and you could go, this is seeds for the Dunstable rose. But if it's just random seeds for any particular plant or whatever, to me, I don't think there's that much benefit from that, and I think we could probably do away with that, and that would save us £1.5 grand, which is probably going to be needed.
Okay, well, in answer to the rose, I think Paul's already mentioned, obviously, on the investigations that they've made, that it's going to take 2 years to do that.
Yeah. So
and the amount of the expense that's actually coming in at that it's not really an option. So looking at the other things that were agreed up front, which are the bulb and the tree planting and the seed giveaway. Now you will remember, obviously, when we spoke about this seed giveaway on the previous meeting, that we were talking about putting packets of seeds on the front of the Talk of the Town. But when that was investigated, there's 17,200 copies of that get distributed. So it'd be 17,200 packets of seeds, which really would have been a big expense. So I seeing some sort of compromise on that, and how many of them would actually be used. A lot of those, proportion of that would get thrown away with the Talk of the Town, or people that deliver through their doors that are not really interested in gardening or whatever. So it doesn't seem a resourceful use of funds. However, I think what the revised plans are now saying is that we're reduced to be 5,000 packets instead of 17,200, which is a massive reduction. And we'd use that to target audiences. So at your events and things like that, you'd actually target people for gardening, or people actually going to use them or want them. And also to use our branding on the actual seed packets themselves. So it'd be a nice thing affirmatively to actually do to say these are from your town council and have the town council crest on it. But to say a massive reduction from 17,200 to only 5,000 packets, but just give them to specific groups, people that we know have the interest that they're going to actually use them. So that would seem a good compromise to me, but obviously it's up for debate and discussion. Councillor Smart.
Yes, thank you, Chair. I do somewhat agree with Councillor Brennan, and I think we also did have conversation about having an exhibition, if I recall it correctly. And part of the engagements is not just about giving away, it's about, pulling the community together. And one of the way of doing that is already what we already said in planting the bulbs. I think that's community engagement. It's how effective we are marketing that, actually getting the community to plant the bulb and pulling the community together. I think that's more effective than having a 4,500 giveaway as it relates to the seed. So I would actually say, yes, it's less compared to what we're going to, what the discussion was, but those conversation wasn't agreed, wasn't concrete anyway. It was just a throw about ideas that we still kind of bounce. I think officers has come back with great saving, beyond great saving. And I think, we've made progress, but I also do think we should consider carefully the 4,300 on 5,000 packet of seed is not necessary in my view. I think we should spend that money doing exhibition, engaging young people, bringing them into what the council does, the history of the town, stuff like that. Maybe you can, maybe a bottle of water, or whatever, when it comes to this event, will be more effective with the council name on it or something like that. But I think that needs to be reconsidered.
Just to clarify, what we're saying is that the cost that I previously mentioned includes the tree planting, the bulb planting, and the seed giveaway. So we
For 4,300?
For the 7,750.
Yes, I don't understand that, but
So
the seed giveaway is
yeah.
now 4,300.
1,250.
Sorry, am I mistaken?
Yes.
I do apologize.
it's just
Okay,
when
no.
you were
Okay, sorry, that's the giveaway. Sorry.
when you were referring to matters, it sounded like you were saying that the seed giveaway was instead of bulb planting or tree
Got it.
planting. So I just wanted to clarify that that's not the case.
Okay.
They are
understand.
separate individual items, and we are going to take a vote on them. But it's one doesn't replace the other. So that what we've got it down to 7,750 rather than the 16,000 odd includes those three things.
Okay.
So the only thing we take.
Got it. I do apologize then. I must clarify then. I thought it was 4,300 for just giving away seed. I disagree with those.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
The idea of 25p a seed, I suppose, a pack. But the question is, would I rather get a bottle of water when I come to this event and get a refreshment?
So 25p.
Whatever the cost is, it could be 25p.
25.
Yes, you could get, tons of them from Amazon and put your logo on it. Absolutely do that. It would not cost you more than 40p to put a logo on it. So the point is, whatever you do, you're going to spend money. The question that we've got to ask is, in terms of having a proper presentation during this event, are we going to give the seed away and not, because
Sorry, can I? Yeah, Councillor Crawley was first. So.
Thanks. Just, I think this was a member suggestion in the first place to do this, wasn't it? It was a 40th member. One of the members suggested it. We don't have to do it. We chose to do this. The officers have made it a lot cheaper. A quarter of the price, from 4,300 to 1,200. We don't have to do it. It's a nice to give away, but if we don't feel it's value for money, then we've got the bulb planting, hopefully we've got the trees. That's a decision we can make tonight.
Just
what I think the intention would be is that if we went ahead with it, and we wouldn't hold any specific events, we'd use our existing events, and there would be some kind of council gazebo, which would probably ask councillors to help us stand man to say it's our 40th anniversary, we care about the planet, here's a packet of seeds. So we're not holding additional events, but adding some value and a bit more content to the events that we do hold, and then we'd put out comms beforehand and use that through the year.
That's okay.
Well, I think that was the idea. The idea of the seed giveaways and GQT, if you listen to it, there are a lot of people wanting to know what seeds they should plant to generate the best amount of carbon recovery. And obviously these seeds are generally packaged with a good selection of wildflowers, which are good for the insects. And we're trying to encourage people to understand that they can just plant a few flowers and the bees and the insects can come and get their nectar. And it's very useful for the future of the planet. So we're trying to do an education thing as well as just giving them a pack of seeds. Because again, we can have a QR code on there which takes you to the greening websites where we're trying to recover and especially with the children, they'd love to chuck a bunch of seeds in the garden. Mine did, I'm sure most do, and then watch a few flowers grow. So it's more of an ethos thing, saying at 40 years we're still caring for the planet and trying to improve things, and that's perhaps slightly better than giving them a disposable plastic bottle. So if we're going to do something, this is the kind of thing I think we should do, something where we can engage with the public, as Paul says, give people a memento of the town council at 40, and something that takes them to a better environment, hopefully to a better environment. So that's just my view. It's a good idea.
I think one of the things is, obviously we're doing tree planting and bulb planting, so we've got the community sort of side of it. The seed giveaway is something that is personal to people that can do it in their own home, in their own garden. So they've got a little bit of everything. We're doing the things with the community and people's gardens as well. So yeah, it's just something to bear in mind.
We want to see greening, don't we? That's our plan.
That's a brilliant.
Oh, Sally, did you want to?
Yeah, mine is quite different. I participated with planting the bulbs with the community and the students, and I must say it was quite a beautiful day. The children all came together and we planted those bulbs. As you're saying, they don't, I think within an hour they had finished the bulbs that you had been given, but the engagement was quite positive and it was a very good way of bringing people together.
Councillor now.
I was just thinking, do we know what type of seeds that this price is based on? Because I'm thinking to myself, instead of just giving like random seeds of like flowers and all that, probably better to do like vegetable seeds. That way, I think like with a vegetable seed, they're more likely to take it because it's not just a flower that will sit in your garden and you look at it, it looks nice and pretty. You plant like tomatoes, they're more encouraged to take that because they can actually get something out of it, and the seeds will come back and they reuse it again the following year.
I don't think there's been any decision on what seeds yet, but I don't think it was wildflower that was being considered. It was going to be some kind of garden valuable seed, I think, was being. I'm not sure which one's going.
It certainly sounds like a valid suggestion.
Yeah.
Perhaps if we go for 5,000 packets of seeds, then maybe we can have half and let people choose whether they want the vegetables or the tomatoes or the flowers. But at least, we've got a bit of a selection now. I don't know if that's feasible.
Yeah, get back to you on that.
Sorry, Catherine.
Yeah, so the company that we went to, there was a wide variety of seed choices. So we could certainly do that. We could choose, and everything that we choose, we could choose things that are good to grow for pollinators. So there was a lot of choice in terms of what seed you could include. Yeah.
I think my main worry is that tree planting is dependent upon Central Bedfordshire's funding, or that's how this comes in this report. It is based on an application that we haven't written that won't be put in until April.
But this funding is in this year's central government handout.
Sure, but there's still no guarantee. Like, we're basing this on something we don't have a guarantee for, the tree funding. So like the tree planting, I'm sure we do have, like Central Bedfordshire does
Let's have the money.
and a target for like 1 million trees by 2030.
Just to clarify, I think Kathy, that we have had to manage the application, haven't we? We just wanted an outcome, but as far as I understood,
Yeah,
it was quite positive. And I've spoken to other CPC people and they said that they're
yeah.
99%.
I mean, we have an excellent relationship with the CBC sustainability team. And the indication was that if we did apply for a tree grant in 2025, it would be successful. However, you're quite right, councillor, that's not guaranteed at the moment because we can't submit the application until the next financial year. So, yeah.
So
So we haven't got the guarantee on that until, you know, we can't submit the application until the new financial year. And so we don't know until the new financial year that we've definitely got the grant. Yeah.
So in the event that that grant falls for whatever reason, let's say I'm playing devil's advocate, let's say that that grant falls, do we then put in the other do we put in that £5,000 with whatever funds we have available and continue the tree planting, or do we make the decision at that point in time?
Right, I think if you look at the tree planting, it's 1,500. So we're not 5,000.
No, there's 5,000 will be the input from Central Bedfordshire Council, which we are hoping on,
Right.
which is likely but not a guarantee. So if that 5,000 does not come through, that will be a further decision for council to make whether we want to put that money in or whether we want to just scrap the project. I think if we don't do the seed giveaway, then the money that we would be putting into the tree planting could fund the seed giveaway as a backup for the tree planting. But you know, I think like Matt's was a very good idea, like of providing vegetable seeds. I'm happy, and I obviously want to increase biodiversity any way, shape or form we can. I was thinking of the finances of Dunstable Town Council and the fact that the precept will be increased at some point.
I think, well, we need to make a decision on this. We've got a decision vote to actually go through. So I think based on what's been said, we'll go through them one by one. Can I have a show of hands for the tree planting for the budget that's been provisioned for there? Those in favour? Okay, that's unanimous. And for the bulb planting?
Yeah.
Again, unanimous as that one. And the seed giveaway.
Nice. Yeah.
Okay,
I'll
well,
go for it.
so
I'd go with the.
so that's been fully agreed that we've got all three for the total of 7750.
Yes.
And that,
Just a question. I know that the seed giveaway for the members or the residents who don't come to the events, are we able to find a way, especially going to the schools and making sure we can be able to give away those seeds? Just
I certainly think we could put in the top of the town that the seeds are already here.
Yeah.
If anybody, or you phone this number, you can get these seeds from the town council.
yes. I think the thing is,
Worth a quarter page advert to
Yeah.
say.
we need to target them. Obviously, if we're going to do 5,000, then we need to target them and get as many as that we can, hopefully planted, rather than be thrown away, which I think
You're
was
quite like that necessarily. People are actually asking for them, so
Yeah.
they're going to a good home.
yeah, exactly.
And secondly, not the same people asking, you know, that people will be like, okay, I'll plant my whole garden with all these seeds, and
Oh, yeah.
the people will miss out. So it's just finding ways of actually making sure that the people who need it is equal.
Yeah, what usually one per person. Yeah, one per
Mm.
person.
Can we do some sort of advice for, I know it normally says it on a packet of seeds, how to do it. But like, is there any way that we could do some advice of the best way? Here's Dunstable Town Council's.
I mean, sorry, Paul, but we do that at some of our events where we actually do little seed sowing demonstrations. So we can do that at our events, and we can also kind of do a really simple kind of thing that we post on our social media outlets that are kind of, you know, sort of bomb-proof guidance to seed sowing.
Like
Yeah.
TikToks and
Yeah.
Facebook videos. That would be awesome. And then they,
We could back it up with something on, you
I
know.
think I'd like to see Sean do a TikTok dance.
That's what you get for not coming to committee.
We can back it up, you know, once we've got the seed sorted, we could back up that with a website page that, you know, gives a lot of information and support regarding that, and also a bit about, you know, planting them and recommended soil type and all that sort of thing and how to go about it. So it would tie in, and then that'd bring more visitors obviously to the website as well to do. So I think that'd be a nice thing to do. But, you know, going back to what we originally said, you know, a reduction of 8,750 on this budget that was only more than agreed in September is fantastic. So please back all of our thanks to the people involved in making that happen. Really great. Okay, moving on to our next item, which is the budget proposals. Will you can take us through those?
So members, a reminder that as last year, you're going to have 2 snaps of the budget. This is your first stab. The next meeting have another version of it, as with all the committees. What we've given you here is a draft budget, and we've also highlighted all the items of additional income or cost over £1,000 that will feature in the budget. What you don't have in here is any details about salaries, because we're still working on the implications of national insurance, inflation, pay review, salary, which is in some ways by far the biggest cost to this committee. There aren't any staffing changes to this committee, except that in this year you've agreed to increase the splash manager's role to be full-time for the whole year. So that wasn't budgeted for at the start of the year, so that will be an additional cost into the budget for next year. But that's not here now, that will be discussed next time. So just to highlight, in terms of additional costs, there are additional splash costs here, but there's more additional splash income than additional splash costs, because you have to buy the stock before you sell it. Some vehicle increases in terms of fuel and maintenance, but a lot of our costs just have gone up in the last year. We have made some savings on utilities, which you'll see across most of our budget this year, because our utility contract ends, and we've got a much better deal going forwards from next April. The really tricky one we had to sign up to previously, so that's a win. You will remember that last year you agreed a 10-year replacement programme for our vehicles. So last year you agreed to put the money in from the reserve that was available last year. For this year that has to come from the revenue budget. You'll see on the budget it actually goes up to 75,000, then down to 40,000 for the next years after that. We have had conversations about could we delay that. The problem with delaying it would be we've got vehicles that are really struggling, so we're going to end up paying out more and more maintenance to keep vehicles on the road, and then we're going to pay that amount in another year or two anyway. So there comes a point when over the long term it's better to spend the money now, get new vehicles in, rather than keep vehicles that are getting more and more expensive to keep going. That's the big cost. Cemetery building maintenance, again, we've got some issues with the building that we're going to have to deal with next year. The income from this committee is always difficult to forecast. So obviously, this, as you know, the cemetery varies quite substantially depending on the number of bookings we get through the year. It's up on against forecast this year, and we haven't been over optimistic, but we're being reasonably optimistic financially speaking in terms of income from the cemetery next year. We will finish paying off one of our loans next year. So that's good for the performance area and cemetery extension. But we've already budgeted to spend on other stuff, as you would expect. So that's the summary. Happy to take any questions on any detail. And as always, if you want to ask detailed questions or see things after this meeting, do drop us an email. We're happy to meet with you or take at some point as well.
Okay, thanks for that, Paul. Just before we move on to questions, obviously I draw members' attention to page 32, which is 2.4, which is the growth items over £1,000, other than salary increases. They're basically additional costs that were required to so we'll see that will be recommended to go for FGP. On the more positive side, page 33 gives savings over £1,000. So one sort of counters the other somewhat, which is good news. So obviously, just want to point out to people, raise some questions that you might want to ask. Councillor Samara.
Thank you, Chair. Paul, just a quick question about just thinking about the vans. Once you get you propose to get a new van, what happens to the old van? Do we get to sell it and get some money back for that? Or do you just chuck it? What do you do?
Yes, so we always try to get the best value for money when we resell it, which can be through the company we purchase the vehicle or privately. So they don't get wasted, any of the vehicles. And also bear in mind, this includes plants, big machinery, such as the digger, which is nearly 20 years old, in which working in the cemetery. So that also comes out from that budget.
Okay,
It's not just
so you deduct the cost of the sale from.
Yes, this is the idea. It's we get the best price for it, and then we'll try to sell it.
Budget doesn't include the.
No, this doesn't include. No, because that's changed by year, and depending how we sell it.
Vehicle.
And from what vehicles.
Do we have an example of what happened previously in terms of sale of a vehicle to getting a new one? Just an idea of an average.
Right, so far the vehicles which were sold off, they were used pretty much until end of their life. So the resale value was almost just scrap. But I'm talking about vehicles which were 15 years old. Now the rough estimate I got on some of the vehicles we might sell, which are newer, there it could get back a couple of £3,000, £4,000, £5,000 on them. Obviously, when it's something newer and we sell it off,
Okay.
then we can have a better return.
Okay, do understand. And how much are we buying new vehicles for? Just a rough idea.
It depends on the vehicle. For example, the two new Ford Ranger, one of these is a single cab, another one is a double cab. They were each of one of them was 30,000, the other one was 28,000.
Okay. All right. Conversation on that time. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. So I know we're technically talking about next year's budget, but we've got proposed for the next 5 years on here. I had previously requested, and I don't know if there's we'll have a look into the bedding plants and baskets. I know how much is given to the green flags that are for town power, how important it is to people. But this is £27,000, 34,750, 34,750, 34,750 based on today's prices, presumably. Why are we not using reusable bedding plants that can just be put in? So that can be put in once and then maintained. Perennials, thank you. Rather than spending 34, 35 grand. I know 27 next year, but I know we love these green flags and it's really important, but presumably that will be the answer to this, but that's just a phenomenal amount of money on bedding plants each year.
Really good programme on that for about 3 weeks ago on the BBC Gardeners Question Time, where they analyse whether or not you can use perennials or annuals. The point they came up with, or the points were, perennials do become diseased, they're expensive to maintain, but can actually be cheap. I mean, this is obviously professional gardeners talking about from Wisdom and places like that. And the other thing is perennials don't produce the colour range that annuals do. So those are the two main reasons that they gave for people using annuals. And John Corley would probably know all that. Just then.
I'm sure he would. Yeah. So it needs a mixture of the both really to get the full.
Yes, yeah. You can have your perennials as your backdrop, if you like. But the splash of colour really wants to come from a very bright annual.
I'm keen on looking for places where we can save money on which I'm assuming we're looking at preset rise. And I just think that this is an area that could be cut if we wanted to. If this is an area that it's not like we could cut two things. That, as far as I can see, we can cut two things. We can cut events and we can cut some of the planting we do. Outside of that, there's not a lot more we can do. I don't think there's going to be much in the way of agreement for cutting any events. And I think that we do need to consider something going forward.
So the quick answer on that is we'll go away and have a think about it, and either for the next meeting or before then come back with a bit more of a detailed answer, because there are considerations in there. Some of that is obviously funded through the CBC money for the planters now, so that's one to think about. We have started putting in more perennials, so there's a bit of already an ongoing program on putting in more perennials and trying to do that. So we'll look at where that's up to and if that could be speeded up and how that would look. I'm actually not sure it is particularly about green flags. So the green flags are more about how well are we managing our green spaces? Are we engaging the community? Are we doing that sustainably? So I don't think the amount of bedding plants we use would substantially impact whether or not we keep the green flags. And the reason we do the green flag is because it makes us have really good management plans for our wet grounds. Unless anybody else wants to add anything, I think we will have.
So I think it doesn't, the budget doesn't really reflect on that. That's include 3 items. So it does include the bedding plants for winter and summer, but it's also include the tier 3 planters, hanging baskets, and pole planters, and the troughs which are front of Grove House and the cemetery. So there is a lot more to it than just bedding plants. It's really to make colourful and beautiful the town. The reason it's not particularly for the green flag.
Kathy.
And I just wanted to explain as well that about 2 years ago, we did try to reduce the amount of annual bedding and beds that were planted with annual plants. And we received a grant from CBC, and there were 6 areas eventually that we planted with perennial planting, and they have been really successful. However, they will still need refreshing. So, you know, to keep them looking like a good and interesting display, they will need refreshing every 3 to 5 years anyway. So it's something that if you want to do those types of colourful displays, they will need constant refreshing, whether it's annual or perennial. So, but we have reduced over the past 2 years the amount of areas that we plant annual bedding in.
Thank you, Kathy. I think, you know, on balance for costs and, you know, for what the display looks like and colour and things like that, it seems like the balance of perennials and annuals is a good solution for that. Yeah, as a John will no doubt knows best. So just to draw people's attention as well to the pages 34 to 40, they're the budget figures to be recommended for FGP. So just so people are aware of that. Yes, Brennan.
So I have a few questions. I'd like to have more information on the. I know I asked for us to use it, but for the CCTV maintenance contract, 7,000 for Priory Gardens. I'd like to know more about that. So how effective it is, whether it's good value for money to be spending that much money on that CCTV. I know we had an instance of vandalism to the war memorial, which was horrific, but if nothing comes out of having CCTV, then it doesn't serve it as a deterrent, or it doesn't serve best value for money. So I'd like to know more about that, a report of how useful it's been, what we've actually received, like what benefit we actually get from using it. I have questions about so I know I feel really stupid for asking questions about it because I agreed to it in the first place and I was very happy about it. The 10-year replacement program for the vehicles. It says 60,000 growth in cost. But within the budget, it only shows a negative of 15,000. So I assume we're already putting 50,000 in the current budget. We don't have a 23-24 line in this, what I'm going to call an MTFP. So I can't see what's currently in the budget. Do you see what I mean? So if you go into like, if you go into reserve input, I can't remember where it is. It's in it somewhere. Let me find it. So if you go into capital and projects, you've got contribution to vehicles reserve. 24-25, it's only 15,000. Yet in growth, it says 60,000 of growth. So I assume that means there's currently already, like, the current budget is an input of 50,000. It does.
Yeah, so if you go up to, so you're looking at the reserve figure, which
Yeah.
is what we're proposing to put into it. So if you go up to budget 210, and 4712, you can see that from the revenue budget, last year we put in 15,000, but because we used some of the previous budget. So the proposed revenue budget for the coming year is 75,000. So that's an increase from 15 to 75, which is 60,000.
Okay,
So we're
24
increasing the budget by 60, and then
Right.
the following years we'll drop it by 30.
So I'm so sorry. This is me being stupid. The current year is 24-25, is it?
Yeah.
No. Just a year behind. That's perfectly fine. That makes total sense. Okay.
I think that clarifies it. Is there anything else that,
No.
Looking at a different line now.
I do have a question about depot rent contribution. Is that figure going to be accurate?
Yes.
Okay, that's
So as you know, and we've discussed informally, we haven't yet signed the lease agreement with CBC, but the lease they've offered us is for at least 10-year arrangement. So once that's signed, then that is what that figure is.
okay. Cool, brilliant.
Just
That's really
one-
good news.
one point that I'd just like to touch on, what Councillor Brennan mentioned about CCTV and effectiveness of CCTV. We're on that, and as he mentioned before about the deterrent, I think we've really got to be a bit smart about how we make sure that the CCTV is protecting our biggest assets, particularly, the War Memorial and the Pergola and Pergola's going in and things like that. We really need to be making sure they are protected by CCTV, and more importantly, they've got a plaque in place that says, we're monitoring on CCTV. So, because I'm not sure that's always the case, particularly with the War Memorial and things like that. It obviously needs to be sensitively placed, but in those sort of locations. But I think people need to be aware that they're actually being monitored by CCTV rather than just having the CCTV there and hoping they're going to notice that it's. I think it'd be much more proactive to make sure that we put that notice there. Councillor Brennan.
So I have another question, and that's again on capital and project 210. So I'm sure I'm just not seeing it, but I'm sure is going to be a rather large loan, hopefully within one of those years for the new cemetery. I can't see it in this paperwork.
So it's there a little bit. Let me find the line.
What's that looking for? Is it that
Which
contribution is that for?
That's what I'm just.
See, I would expect loan interest payable to increase at some point.
Yeah, so well, obviously at the moment we have no idea, very, very vague idea of what is possible and what the cost is going to be. So we haven't now got a future budget in for the definite cost of the future cemetery.
Sure.
However, somewhere do have the development cost. Struggling to see where it is
I know that,
at this conversation.
I know depending on how much it costs, like, I know 17, I know just a completely random figure of £17 million. It's about £750,000 of like revenue to repay. It's not pertinent for the next year coming, but it's just,
There is a good answer to your question, Councillor, and I cannot see it in front of me right now, so I'm going to have to come back to you.
okay, it's fine. That's not a problem.
Are you talking about the burial fees? No.
No.
No, well, it's just, it should be, I don't know how much we're expecting the,
No,
probably really stalling. this
Cemetery
to be
burial fee,
by asking
based on the
second motion.
non-concurrent.
I do have one further question.
Yeah, Councillor Corey.
Does this budget take into account the new national insurance contributions?
No, so this budget doesn't give us anything about salaries.
Oh, you said that. You did say that. Yeah, sorry.
So as I understand, Councillor Brennan's asked for a report to be fought for CCTV. If we could do the suggestions that I've had before onto that report, that would be appreciated, so we can make sure that we are protecting our assets and the importance of that and the signage. Thank you very much.
Yeah, I was just going to say, Chair, it's actually a law for you to put signage if you're going to have CCTV. So everywhere that we have CCTV should, if not, you can actually use it in court. It would actually just,
It's in our interest.
the case will fall apart.
Yeah,
basically.
yeah.
Alright.
Okay, I'm aware that we skipped over one point of the agenda here, but obviously it doesn't have an update. I did intimate that before about sorting and gritting in progress. The report is to follow on that, because obviously know that John's not had a chance to discuss, but the 2nd of December we will have that meeting. So no doubt for our next meeting he will be able to update us appropriately with that report. Okay, that brings us on to reports from outside organisations. Just one there for the CBC Development Committee from Nicholas Kotarski. There's no update being provided. He did come back to me and said that there's no update report on that at present. So that's where we currently stand with that. And finally, the date of the next meeting is Monday, the 13th of January at 7 o'clock. I'd just like to say personally, my personal thanks for everyone that made the effort to attend yesterday's remembrance service. I'm sure that those of us that did, it was a really proud moment to see so many people in the town, and the people obviously that came along today as well. It was really, really appreciated. So the turnout was fantastic. I'm sure we're all proud of what we contributed to the Remembrance Day services. So
Just no, clock tower's wrong, or it was. Has anyone mentioned that? I'm sure Liz has.
Councillor James has beaten you to that.
Yeah.
And we have checked before he went off. John did order the annual service for the clock, so that will be taking place shortly once the annual service is done. I'm sure that will pick it up.
at the moment it's London time, GMT in New York, and
It's everybody else.
it's a world clock.
So far behind.
Okay, thank you very much indeed for